All right, guys. So I'm gonna do the tutorial for you guys in Photopea because it is a little off from the Photoshop tutorial. So first thing you're gonna do is bring in the provided image that I gave you, and we're going to take the magnetic lasso tool, um, and we're going to zoom in a little bit so we can get a closer look, and then take the magnetic lasso tool, and then we're going to start dragging around this guy's face here. If say, a point is not forming, then you could click on your trackpad or mouse to create a point. And then literally we're just going to drag around this guy's face. And then we're also going to go around his beard. And then once we're done with his beard, we are going to come back around his face and, come back to where his skin is over here, and then come around. And then literally we're going to click where that first point was made. Now we're going to go into the refine edge. We're going to pull this up. I'm going to zoom out just a tad bit. So we're gonna change the borders to about 10. And then we are going to take our white paint and make our brush size smaller. And we're just gonna go refine these edges now. White will bring back, a little bit of what we want. Black will get rid of, areas that we don't need. So as you can see, we're gonna kind of, get as much as we want. We really don't want his hairline. His beard's fine, but we don't want, his hairline. Sorry, this keeps zooming in and out. I have to learn how to not, do this with the mouse. It's kind of hard. So yeah, so now, like I said, I'm just going to refine these edges over here, get as much as I possibly can, especially around the beard. His hairline, we don't want that much. So just a little bit, nothing crazy. And then, like I said, we could go back in with black and really refine, some of these other areas that we don't want. So we'll just finish up here. And then once we refine this and get it exactly the way we want it, then we are going to turn this into a selection rather than, a new layer. So let me just get this last bit here, and then we are gonna go in and make a selection. All right, so that looks pretty good, close enough. I want you guys to spend more time on it. I just don't want to waste too much time. So now over here it's selected on a new layer. Right now we want to switch it to selection and then click OK. So what's happening is that we're making a selection around the guy's face, and we refined it, so it's closer of a selection to his face, especially because he has all this hair. Then we're going to save the selection. So we're going to go to select and save selection. You could just double check in your channels, and as long as you have this alpha 1 and it looks like the shape of his face, you are on the right track. So now we're going to go back to our layers panel, and then we're going to hit Control D, or you could go to select, deselect on your canvas here. Now we're going to bring in the tiger picture, and we're going to take our lasso tool, and we're going to draw the selection around the tiger as best as we can. Again, we're going to go refine it. So, if you don't do a perfect selection, no big deal. We'll, fix it in the refine. All right, so then you do that. And again, refine edge. This time we're going to make our borders up to about 30. So then once you get that, same thing. Now we're going to take the white and then go around the areas and bring back more of the hair. And then we will go back with the black and get rid of, some areas too. So like I said, we want to refine this as much as we possibly can. And then we will, you know, go back in and fix it. So let me do a little bit of the black because we don't need this. And again, guys, like I said, just try your best to get it as close as possible. You know, it's not as close as Photoshop, but it'll do. Okay, so that looks pretty good. We'll just do one more swipe there. Actually, I like it better like that. Okay, so that looks pretty good. All right, so now this time, instead of the selection, we're going to make this into a new layer and then click OK. So now we have, you know, the background layer, our new layer that we just made. So now what we're going to do is we want to make a copy of the whiskers. So we're going to zoom in and make sure that the background layer is highlighted and also visible. We're going to zoom into our whiskers, and then we're going to take the magic wand tool. Make sure your tolerance is at least set to like 55. I mean, you could try it a little higher, but if you're like in the 100 range, it's too much. It's going to select, you know, parts of his fur. So 55 is a good range. So what you're going to do is you're going to click and it should select, you know, the whisker. If you want to add or like continue to add to your selection, you could hold shift on your keyboard and continue clicking. So I'm holding shift on my keyboard and I'm clicking on, you know, these other white areas so they get selected because I want, you know, as much whiskers as possible. I'm going to just undo that because I didn't mean that. And then, you know, like I said, get as close as possible and get as many whiskers as possible because we want to, you know, make sure that we're getting, you know, as many as we can. So I'll do a couple more. Another great thing that you could do is, which I'm going to show you in a second, which will definitely help and benefit us, is we can, so let me just try and get as much over here. Oh, no. Okay. So that's good. So what you could do is you have most of them selected. We could click on this tool right here. It's the quick mask mode. So it shows me what is selected. So now what I can do is I could go refine this edge as well. So I could take my paintbrush tool and then I'm going to make my brush size a little bit smaller. And I believe black, yes, black will, you know, bring back like parts of the tiger. So like, you know, some of it was too much selected. So like this is going past like the whisker that of like what we actually need. So black will, you know, save us there. And then even if you wanted to redefine some of these whiskers, you can, like, I'm gonna actually ignore this whisker because it didn't really get that much selected. And then what you can also do is you could switch your colors like back to white and go back in with the white and define the whisker this way. So like parts of the whisker over here got a little chopped off. So I'm going to paint, you know, that white there, maybe in over here. And again, you could go back and forth, like, you know, get it to the way you want it. Like I might just go back a little bit and get, you know, a little bit closer to the whisker itself over here. And then that looks pretty good. Again, guys, I want you guys to, you know, work on this a little bit more. If I really was wanting to perfect this, I would probably spend another like 10 minutes on this. But again, don't want to waste your time. So then after you get that selection and you know, tweak it to the way you want it, then you click back on the quick mask mode and it has everything selected. Then we're going to make a copy of it. So I'm going to hit Control C and Control V. And if you want to check, there are my whiskers right there. And then I'm actually going to rename it whiskers so I know what that is. Then what we're going to do is we're going to make that visible. We're going to select these two layers. So I have my top layer selected. I'm going to hold shift on my keyboard, then click on this one to select both. Then I'm going to right click and then click on duplicate into, and we're going to move this to the picture of the guy. So we're going to click on that image and click OK. So now when we go back over here, the tiger and whiskers is back here. So of course now the image is a little too big. Also this is selected, so I'm going to hit deselect. So now these are selected. I'm going to hit Control T and hold Shift while I resize, so I can, make this obviously much smaller so it fits his face. Then I'm going to click off and just click on the background. I'm going to drop the opacity to about 45, and I'm going to zoom in, and we're going to match up this face as possible. So it's up to you guys. I mean, the guy was kind of saying match up the nose, but then I feel like he comes short over here, and then the eyes are like way up there. So I think I'm gonna just bring him down a little bit, and then we'll adjust it over like this way. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go to edit and transform and click on the warp tool. And now we're literally gonna warp and move this tiger so these features fit better in the face. So I'm also going to just zoom in a little bit more, and then edit, transform, warp, and we're going to do that again. So here again, I'm going to fix that nose so it gets a little bit closer, and then I'm going to take these eyes and bring them down. So again, it's going to be back and forth because as you can see, the nose now started to move. So again, we're going to fix it as best as we can. Also keep track of where your little squares are, because I don't know where my eye one went right over here. Let's see. This one is for the nose. This one is for the nose. This one is for that eye. Where did this one go? Where did you go? I want to move that one over a little bit more. All right, well, let's hit enter and let's try looking for it again. Yeah, there we go. So sometimes you might just have to hit enter and then re-warp it again, so then we could get it to the best of how we want it. Again, keep track of where you're moving these little squares because I lost mine and I couldn't find it. And then we're going to fix this nose one more time. All right, so that looks pretty good. Just want to bring those eyes down a little bit more. All right, good. So like I said, you're going to get it to the way you want it, and then, get it exactly where you want it to be placed and make sure it kind of goes along with the face, so on and so forth. So now what we're going to do is we're going to make a copy of this. So you could hit Control J on your keyboard, and I'm going to it doesn't matter because now they're both the same. So I'll make this bottom one the chin layer. So I'm going to hit chin and I'm going to mark it off for now because I don't need it. The background copy, I'm going to raise the opacity all the way up. And then I'm going to change the blending mode from normal to multiply. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go back to that channels panel, and we're going to hit Control on our keyboard and click on the thumbnail, because then we're getting that selection. And then we're going to go back to our layers panel, and we're going to press on the raster mask layer. So now everything went inside of the shape that we already had selected. So now what we're gonna do is we want to I'm also gonna put those whiskers away for right now. We also, why is this going that way? Oh, bye. Oh no. What is going on? Give me 1 second, guys. There we go. Okay. So now what we want to do is we want to bring back the eyes. So in order to do that, we need to add another raster mask to this layer and make sure that this is selected. Then what we can do is we can take our paintbrush tool, and I believe, yeah, black is going to bring the eyes back, and white will bring back the fur. So I'm going to zoom in a little bit more and I'm going to paint black. I'm going to actually overshoot a little bit because I just want to see exactly where the eye is. And then I'll go back in and repaint. So like I said, get as much of the eye as possible. And then, like I said, we'll go back in and we'll repaint it. I just want to make sure that I have the eye visible. So now I'm going to switch and then bring some of this fur back because I want to make it as realistic as possible. So I'm going to go to the eyelid and bring that back. And then the eyelid on the bottom and bring that back. And then that looks pretty good. I'm just going to go a little bit more here and then that looks good. Okay, then we're going to do the same thing on the opposite eye. So erase. Again, if you want to overshoot and then, bring back the fur, that's fine. Or if you want to paint it exactly, that's fine too. Whatever works for you guys works for me. So let me just, I'm going to overshoot a little bit and paint more than what I need because I want to make sure I got the whole eye. And then I'm going to go back in and bring back some fur. Okay, so that looks pretty good. Now I'm going to switch and really go to the eyelid. And then come on this side and go a little here and get as close as possible. And that looks pretty good. Okay, so now we have to do the same thing for the mouth. So, and you could always zoom out and zoom in if you want to like fix it. Like I might go back in here a little bit, just a little bit to bring back, some of this eye, because it looks a little too dark. So I could just, maybe just bring up a little bit more of the eyelid, and fix that a little bit. But again, it's what you guys want to, your preference. So fix it to the way that you like. Okay, so that looks a little better. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to drop the opacity to about 50 and make the brush size a little bit bigger. And we're going to paint over the lips. So I'm going to paint over, whoopsie. So make sure you have the right color on and then paint over the lips to bring those back. Again, probably overshoot a little bit more just so I could see, what I'm doing here with the lips because I want to make sure I have, most of the lips here. And then I'll go back in and, go exactly where I need to for the lips. I'm also going to just bring this up a little bit more so it comes back a little quicker and then really define this like that. Okay. And then let's see, let's zoom out a little bit. Yep, that looks pretty good. I might want to actually, let's see, go back to my paintbrush tool, switch, and just a little bit more on the bottom lip. You want it defined, but you don't want it like overly defined. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back in one more time. Sorry, this is the perfectionist side coming in for me. All right, so I'm going to fix that lip one more time. And then one more time, go with the white, and bring back the fur. And then I'm just going to do I'm going to drop the opacity a little bit and then go over the entire lip one more time because I don't want it too bright. Like you don't want it to stand out like so much, but you don't want it too dark either. So I'm going to take my brush. I'm going to drop the opacity to about there, make my brush size a lot bigger, and do one swipe. Yeah, that looks better. Okay, cool. So now, I might do one more swipe because it's annoying me. All right, there we go. Now I should be a little bit better. Okay, I just wanted those edges to be a little bit blended. Okay, so now we got that going on. So now what we want to do is we want to make the chin layer visible. And what we're going to do is we're going to highlight that as well. So we're going to make it visible. Also make sure the opacity is brought all the way up. and we are going to click on the raster mask layer, and we're going to hit Command I or Control I to invert it. So now it went from a white thumbnail to a black thumbnail. We're going to get our paintbrush, and then we're literally going to paint back. Let me see. We're going to paint, no, the white one. Oh wait, and also we got to move this layer up. Silly me. I was like wondering why it's like not working. So we're going to paint that white. Also, knowing me, I would probably like move this down a little bit just so it, oh, that's why my brush is too low. Okay, so first I would bring down this a little bit just so it like matches more with his beard. Go back to my paintbrush tool, make sure your opacity is all the way up. I forgot. And there we go. Now we got the chin. So now we're going to paint that chin back as much as possible. If say you did too much, then switch back and erase what you don't need. So that's what I'm doing. Just going to go back a little bit. So that looks pretty good. And then now what we're going to do is we're going to go in and zoom in on these whiskers, and we're going to get rid of them because we don't need them because we have, new whiskers. So I'm going to take my spot healing brush tool, and I'm going to make sure I'm on my first layer because this is the face. So this is, we're going to start here. Make sure my brush size is about, the size of the whisker. And then, just go over the whiskers to get rid of them. And this doesn't have to be exactly perfect because we are going to replace, with the new whiskers. So just, try your best as getting rid of them. You want it to look pretty smooth. Like you don't want it to look not that good. So try your best. And then we're going to go on the other side, get rid of those whiskers. Same thing. And then once we get done with the whiskers, we're going to make the whiskers that we copied visible, make another copy of them and flip them so then we can get literally the same exact whiskers on both sides. Then what you can do is we could switch back to the chin layer, and then we're just gonna, tweak some of these a little bit. You want to make it blend as much as possible. And then that looks pretty good. You could always go back and forth, see some might be on the other layer, some might be on, whichever layer. So just go back and forth to, make sure each layer works very nicely. All right, so that looks pretty good there. Let me just fix that real quick. Okay, so now we're gonna make the whiskers visible. Also, we're going to bring them all the way up. We're also going to drop them to an opacity of 70 because they're too bright. I'm also going to move them a little bit. So I'm going to move them a little closer to the guy and like maybe like right there. And then I'm going to make a copy of them. So you could hit Control J if you want. And then literally we're going to go to Edit, Transform, Flip horizontally, and then you could hold Shift and drag them to the opposite side. Shift will keep them, aligned with the original copy, and then place them there. And then there you go. You have your whiskers. And then the last step that we're going to do is we're going to make a copy of the background layer. So again, you could hit Command J. We're going to bring this all the way to the top. And then we're going to change the blend mode to soft light. And then we are going to hold Alt or Option on our keyboard and drag. We're going to click on the thumbnail from the lion face and drag it and place it here. And then as you can see, the face got a little bit brighter. And that's that. That's all you guys are going to do. So just make sure that, you make sure that the areas blend very nicely. And that's pretty much it. And then save your work as both a PSD and JPEG file and submit it. Thank you.